Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to here on a Friday show. We got another pitcher highlight coming up. Also, we'll talk about maybe some potential big picture baseball things coming up later on the show, some spring training camp battles. But first, we got to start with one of the guys maybe trying to put himself into the conversation for a battle, and that's Tyler Black, who's just continuing to rake. On Thursday, he's playing again, and once again, he is one hit shy of a cycle. This time a home run shy. Gets a single, double, triple. He went 6 for 6 on a stretch there. Had a chance, actually, for the cycle. Pat Murphy left him in there for a fourth at bat in the spring training game against the Rangers. Ended up striking out on a pitch that just caught the corner. I mean, he attempted the ABS challenge, and just enough of it caught the zone. And he was called out on strike, so it went 3 for 4. But still, Tyler Black is on an 8 for 11 run to start spring, including hits in 6 straight at-bats, with 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run in that stretch. So it is one hell of a heater that he's been on these past couple of games. It's going to take some more of that. Now, again, it is still February, so it's still way too early to make any full-time, full long-term decisions here. Although I can make the decision that he is indeed now the front runner for the Brad Nelson Award. That much is clear. But still, Tyler Black being able to rake. I mean, he is a player who was a first-round pick, who the Brewers truly believed was going to be just a really, really good hitter. I mean, he's just very talented at the plate. There doesn't have a ton of pop, but he hits for a good average. He has some speed. Those are things that you like to see. That's a usable player. The defensive struggles have been there. Him and third base are no longer a thing. That may have been a dream in the past, but he is not going to be a third baseman. Hasn't played there in a couple of years. First base, left field are his real pathways to playing time and getting out on the field for the Brewers. And for him, that job really is currently taken up by Jake Bauers, because Jake Bauers is that left-handed hitting first baseman, left fielder, because Bauers can play out there. So with him being there and in the mix. Now, we haven't seen a ton of Jake Bauers this spring yet. Obviously, Tyler Black making all the headlines. We haven't seen Jake Bauers quite as much yet. Again, it's still early in spring training games here, but still, that is something that the Brewers are going to have to look at. Now, I imagine when in a couple of days here, Tyler Black leaves for the World Baseball Classic to play for Team Canada, we're going to see a bit more of Jake Bauers over there at first base, and he'll get a chance to get going in Cactus League play. I don't really think the Brewers are going to be, making any major changes there. Even if Tyler Black continues this very strong spring training, is it going to be enough for the Brewers to just cut bait with Jake Bauers and put Black on the team? I don't think so. As much as the Brewers might like Tyler Black, how much the front office might like him, I think they like Jake Bauers as well and what he brings. So to make that kind of a move, there's got to be something else that ends up happening that changes the equation here. Because I think even with how good Black can be, in spring training, I'm not sure it's going to be enough to overtake Jake Bauers. So, I mean, just kind of taking a long-term look at this. This is Bauers' last year of team control. Making $2.7 million this year. He'll be a free agent after this season. So, with that being the case, so 1 year left for Jake Bauers, and Tyler Black happens to have one option year left remaining. So, he can be option in the minor leagues this season, and then you let Jake Bauers go next winter. You come back, Tyler Black out of options. He can easily be your left-handed first baseman alongside Andrew Vaughn, and that could be the plan. It all seems to fit kind of nicely there. It sucks for Tyler Black because he's 25 years old and he deserves an opportunity. It seems like he's deserving of an opportunity at the big league level and not quite getting it yet, and may have to wait another year for it. But still, that could be how this roster math just ends up working out for him if he indeed stays with the Milwaukee Brewers and they don't trade him, which is also very much a possibility. But Tyler Black is doing his best to make this a camp battle for that backup spot, for a spot on the bench for the Brewers, which is good because there haven't really been a ton of camp battles to look at here for the Milwaukee Brewers, especially on the position player side. Once Luis Rengifo, I keep doing Rengifo. Once Luis was signed, it really kind of seemed to solidify that third base picture on the left side of the infield. It's going to be Rengifo at third, David Hamilton there with him as well, and they're going to be kind of splitting up the backup and utility infield duties, and that gets taken care of. First base, you got your two guys there. You got Vaughn and Bowers. Terang's at second. Ortiz is at short. At catcher, they signed Gary Sanchez to be the backup to Contreras. That seems pretty well set. And then in the outfield, Churrio's not going anywhere. Sal Frelick's not going anywhere. Pat Murphy told us that he would send himself down before he sends Blake Perkins back down to the minors. So I don't imagine Perkins is going anywhere. Garrett Mitchell, now back fully healthy, he's going to be on the team. So you quickly run out of spots. So unless the Brewers want to go with a 5-man bench to start the season and go a man down in the bullpen, unless they want to do that, the position player group largely seems set. Again, unless they wanted to somehow flip Black and Bowers, and the Brewers decided that they were done with Bowers, wanted to cut bait. I don't envision that happening at this point. But again, injuries could always pop up, but still, on the position player side, it really kind of seems largely set. Lockridge is trying to push himself for a spot as well with a strong spring, but I just don't envision him being able to earn a spot over those top 4 guys in the outfield. Plus, you got Christian Yelich at DH who can play some outfield. You got Bowers who can play some outfield. So if you're going to take who else are you going to take a roster spot from to put those guys, to put Lockridge or Tyler Black on the roster? I just don't see it at this point. And, provided everyone's healthy, the only way to get one of those guys on is to go a man down in the bullpen, which I also don't envision the Brewers being able to do. So where the camp battles are on the pitching staff for this team, because it's an incredibly deep group and there's only so many spots. And the rotation obviously is the biggest camp battle of all that the Brewers have. You got the 3 pretty solid locks, Brandon Woodruff and Quinn Priester and Jacob Mizorowski. Then you got a whole bunch of candidates for those final 2 spots. And then you got the bullpen, and there's maybe 2 spots up for grabs in that group in terms of the opening day roster. Just looking at this group, you got Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill. Those 2 are locks to make it. Jared Koenig, I don't see the Brewers sending him down or getting him out of the bullpen to get going here. Aaron Ashby's making this team. And I'm pretty sure DL Hall's making this team too. Whether those 2 guys are in the rotation or in the bullpen might remain to be seen. But whatever it is, those 2 guys are going to be on the team in some capacity. If they miss out on the starting rotation, I would imagine that those 2 guys, especially Ashby, are making the team as a reliever. And they can be the long relievers. They can be spot starters as needed. Grant Anderson is really kind of the only other righty outside of your closers. So Anderson, I'm pretty sure, is going to be making this group. So that really kind of leaves 2 spots up for grabs. You got Angel Serpa and Rob Zastryzny that are currently slated for those spots. Rob Z is out of minor league options, so they have to carry him or they have to designate him for assignment. So there's a pretty good chance Rob Z sticks around, at least in the early going. So perhaps, Serpa could go down if the Brewers wanted to carry an extra righty. They could go with Yoho for that group. Or Easton McGee could maybe earn a spot there as an extra righty. You got, obviously, Peter Strzelecki, Jacob Wagspack as non-roster invites in this group. Perhaps one of these other starters that maybe miss out on the starting rotation could end up in the bullpen. Could Brandon Sproat be there? Could Coleman Crow be there? Carlos Rodriguez, could he be there? So, that just kind of leaves a lot. Logan Henderson, could he end up, if he misses a rotation, would he be in the bullpen? A lot of different routes they could go with that. But really, I think you only got about maybe 2 spots, 1 or 2 spots up for grab in the bullpen, and you got 2 spots up for grabs in the starting rotation. Now, as the season goes along, the Brewers are going to be using all of these guys. They're going to rotate through. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have, poor performance, whatever it is, and they're going to be moving guys up and down. But for the initial opening roster, there's really only a couple of spots that are up for grabs for these guys to battle for throughout spring training. So it's not going to be typical, hey, this whole position, it's anybody's game, and it's just who has the best performance and shows us that they're most ready for it. It almost doesn't kind of seem like that situation outside of really the starting rotation. So that's going to make things also interesting as we head throughout camp here. All right. I also want to tell you guys, as camp is going along, I want to tell you guys about Mars Men. Because as you get past 30 years old, you start losing testosterone about 1% every single year. And we don't want that. We can't have that. So get Mars Men. It's going to support healthy T levels, energy, stamina. It's made in the USA. It's going to help you, feel stronger, have more drive throughout the day, recover better in the gym, things like that. Going to make you feel so much better and free up that locked testosterone that you have. And it has a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk at all with it. So that's certainly very exciting. And even still, over 91% of users report higher energy levels. So thousands of guys are feeling great results from Mars Men. And for a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts at checkout. And after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that Brewers Daily sent you. All right, I want to get to now our pitcher highlight of the day here, and that is going to be Brandon Sproat, another one of the guys competing for one of those last 2 spots in the starting rotation. And Sproat, obviously, coming over in the Freddie Peralta trade. And last season, 4.79 ERA, made 4 starts at the big league level, just 20 and 2/3 innings. So not a large sample size, 25 years old, second-round pick out of the University of Florida. Was actually drafted by the Mets twice. Was drafted the first time, chose not to sign, went back to school, and then got drafted again by the Mets a year later. So they really liked him and wanted him, but they shipped him off to the Brewers for Freddie Peralta. And Brandon Sproat, 6 pitches in his mix, sinker, sweeper, change, curveball, 4-seam, and a slider. So a lot to like with that, a lot to work with for Chris Hook and the Brewers pitching coaches. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to work out. Uses a sinker about 52% of the time against right-handed batters. So it's kind of a primary pitch for him there. And for Brandon Sproat, being able to have that kind of upper tier velocity, averaging around 96 on his fastball, is certainly great to see. And just kind of makes him that much more fun to watch. And he is going to be the Brewers starter here on Friday for their spring training game. So we're going to get a look at him here in Cactus League play. So very excited for that. And just being able to get a chance to look at his pitch metrics, look at his stuff, how it plays in these games early on. The Brewers obviously see a lot in Brandon Sproat, and they like him just in terms of obviously trading Freddie Peralta for him. There's a lot in his arsenal with being able to get spin on the ball, being able to get movement on his pitches, and there are some things that they're going to want to tweak in order to optimize and maximize his performance. And they have done that numerous times with pitchers over the years, and I would imagine they're going to end up doing the same thing here. So just with the stuff that he has, it works so well with what the Brewers do well, and that's why they wanted to get him in the door. So I'm very excited for what Sproat can bring. I'm not sure if he's going to make the starting rotation out of camp here, because again, a lot of guys competing for just 2 spots really that are up for grabs. Could go a number of different directions as things line up, but still, we're going to see him starting at some point for the Brewers this season. Whether it's in April in the first turn through, or whether it's in May or June, at some point, this dude is going to be starting a game for the Milwaukee Brewers, and it's likely going to be multiple as the season goes along. So even if he doesn't get the job coming out of camp here, don't let that make you think that, oh, this dude's not it. We traded Freddie Peralta for some bum in AAA. No, that's certainly not it. Brandon Sproat's going to be a big part of the future here for this rotation, and figuring out that he is going to be one of those guys going forward. They're going to give him every opportunity to do so, and so provided his health remains strong and he's able to do the things that they want him to do, I see no reason to believe why Brandon Sproat can't be a very successful big league pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers and turn in a 3-something ERA for the team this season. Because really, with the strength of the guys that they have, the talent that they have in the room, and just the sheer number of guys, if you're not putting up an ERA around that number, you're not going to be performing well enough, and they'll give someone else an opportunity. So I think Sproat is, and just the Brewers' track record, I think they'll be able to turn him into, from a 4.79 ERA kind of guy to a 3-something ERA kind of guy. So very excited for what he's going to be able to bring this season and for the next several seasons, because he has got multiple years of team control here. He's got a full slate, which is one of the important things that the Brewers wanted in the Freddie Peralta trade to get back in return. All right, finally here, I want to get into this that I saw. Some early salary cap and floor projections from John Heyman of the New York Post, kind of putting it out there. Obviously, CBA negotiations haven't fully gotten started yet, but he was looking at and reporting here that early projections suggest a proposed salary cap of around 260 to 280 million, along with a floor of 140 to 160 million. So those could just be, opening numbers from MLB that they're thinking of, trying to float out there and see if that'll work. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe the players, in all likelihood, the players will just be very upset and we're going to have a lockout and we're going to miss games anyways. But still, that's what it seems like the projections are, the initial proposals are going to be. So if you have a floor of $140 million, that would mean the Brewers would have to jump up about $10 million from where they currently are in terms of salary in order to hit that floor. So really, it's not a ton of movement that the Brewers would have to make if that would indeed be the floor. Now, if the floor ends up at 160, then the Brewers are going to have to make up $30 million and somehow get up there in order to meet the floor requirements. Because whatever the cap is, I don't envision the Brewers playing at that level salary-wise, at least in the early going here. I mean, we'll have to see what the revenue sharing numbers come out to, if that gets agreed to. And this is all super far down the line. You have to get the players to actually agree to this at some point, which is going to be the biggest hurdle to getting any sort of cap and floor system in place. But those are what the early projections are. So the Brewers might have to bump up a little bit. It might only have to be $10 million, could be about $30 million that they'd have to bump up. But in any sort of cap and floor system, it is going to have to be, increased revenue sharing from the wealthy clubs, such as the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have dollars that they can just burn and still be fine. It's going to be increased money from them coming in to support the small market clubs like Milwaukee, like Pittsburgh, like Tampa Bay, like those places, in order to get them up to that salary floor. So it's all going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. We got a long time to figure that out, but we got a full baseball season to happen first, which we're very excited for. And we'll be covering every single day here on Brewers Daily. So be sure to subscribe, get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Appreciate you watching, appreciate you enjoying, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.